Imagine a second sun. Not the blazing ball of fire in our sky, but one that humankind has built on Earth. A machine so powerful it can recreate the same processes that fuel the stars themselves. A reactor that burns hotter than the heart of the sun, caged by magnets, designed by engineers, controlled by computers. This isn't science fiction anymore. It's happening right now in China. In recent years, Chinese scientists revealed an achievement that stunned the world. Inside a massive structure known as EAST, the experimental advanced superconducting tokamak, they sustained plasma hotter than 100 million degrees Celsius. To put that into perspective, the core of our sun burns at around 15 million degrees. That means their machine sitting inside a laboratory on Earth was almost 7 times hotter than the natural star we orbit. But this wasn't just a flash, a momentary spark. They held it for minutes, long enough to prove that what once seemed impossible is slowly becoming reality. This achievement isn't just about science. It's about the future of energy, the future of nations, and maybe even the survival of humanity itself. Because what China is attempting, and what the whole world is racing toward, could either save us from climate disaster or push us into an entirely new age of uncertainty. Let's take a step back. What exactly is this artificial sun? It's not a miniature version of the sun itself, of course, but a nuclear fusion reactor. Fusion is the process that powers stars. In simple terms, it happens when two light atoms, like hydrogen, slam together under intense heat and pressure, fusing into a heavier atom and releasing colossal amounts of energy. It's the opposite of fission, which splits atoms apart in traditional nuclear power plants. The magic of fusion is that it doesn't produce the same radioactive waste, it doesn't risk chain reactions that spiral out of control, and it uses fuel that's incredibly abundant. Hydrogen, the most common element in the universe, which can even be extracted from seawater. Just a few grams of hydrogen could release as much energy as tons of coal. The dream is breathtaking. Limitless clean energy, no carbon emissions, no reliance on fossil fuels, no deadly meltdowns. A world where electricity is so cheap and abundant it becomes almost free. A world where power grids never fail. Where cars, homes, and even industries run on endless energy drawn from the same process that makes the stars shine. But here's the catch. Fusion is unbelievably difficult. To make it work, you need to heat plasma, a soup of charged particles, to temperatures far beyond anything in nature. We're talking 100 million degrees and above. At those temperatures, matter stops behaving the way we know it. It becomes wild, unstable, chaotic. Holding it in place is like trying to trap lightning inside a bottle. That's why machines like EAST use powerful magnetic fields to confine this plasma, preventing it from touching the walls of the reactor and cooling down. For decades, this challenge has defeated scientists. Fusion experiments around the world achieve tiny bursts of energy, milliseconds of plasma, promising results, but never sustained. Never enough to produce actual power for real-world use. The joke among physicists was always the same. Fusion is 30 years away, and it always will be. But that joke is starting to fade. The last few years have seen breakthroughs that make the dream seem closer than ever. In the United States, scientists at the National Ignition Facility announced in 2022 that they had achieved ignition, producing more energy from a fusion reaction than they put into it for a fraction of a second. In Europe, the ITER project in France is building the world's largest fusion reactor, a multinational effort with billions of dollars invested. And in China, EAST has pushed the boundaries of sustained high-temperature plasma farther than anyone else. So why does this matter? Because if fusion really works, it will change everything. Think about our current world. Wars are fought over oil. Nations rise and fall depending on who controls natural gas pipelines. Entire economies are built on fossil fuels, and yet these fuels are finite, they're running out. Worse, burning them is destroying the planet's climate, raising sea levels, fueling extreme weather, and threatening billions of lives. Fusion offers a way out of this trap. Imagine a world where energy is no longer scarce, where every country, no matter how poor, can power its cities, its industries, its homes with clean, abundant energy. They imagine a world where climate change slows and even reverses, where humanity no longer fears the end of oil or the collapse of energy systems. This is what fusion promises. But here's the darker side. If one nation masters fusion before anyone else, it could become the most powerful country on Earth overnight. Control over energy has always meant control over geopolitics. Think about the way oil shaped the 20th century. Wars in the Middle East, global alliances built around pipelines and supply routes, entire superpowers rising and falling depending on who had access to black gold. If fusion becomes real, whoever controls it could reshape the balance of power for the entire 21st century. This is why China's artificial sun is so controversial. On the one hand, it's a triumph of science that benefits all of humanity. On the other, it signals that China may be racing ahead in a technology that could define the future of civilization. Some analysts in the West see this as a new kind of arms race. Not for nuclear bombs, but for nuclear energy, the ultimate prize. And it doesn't end there, because fusion, while safer than fission, isn't without risks. What if reactors fail? What if magnetic containment collapses? Could accidents release bursts of radiation? Could this technology be weaponized in ways we can't yet imagine? The artificial sun may not explode like an atomic bomb, but it still raises fears about safety, regulation, and trust. Then there are the philosophical questions. If humans can build their own stars, what does that say about us as a species? For thousands of years, the sun has been worshipped, feared, and revered. It was a god to ancient civilizations. It dictated life, harvest, and survival. Now we are learning to replicate it. Are we ready to wield that kind of power? Are we responsible enough to handle energy on a scale that could light up entire worlds? Or are we once again running faster than our wisdom allows? What's fascinating is how fusion reflects the story of human ambition. Every leap in energy has redefined civilization. The discovery of fire allowed humans to cook food, survive cold nights, and evolve into complex societies. Coal and steam powered the Industrial Revolution, reshaping the world in less than a century. Oil and gas fueled cars, airplanes, and global trade, creating the modern world. Nuclear fission gave us both electricity and weapons of unimaginable power. And now, fusion, if achieved, could be the next chapter. The question is, will it be the chapter where humanity thrives or where we overreach once again? China's East reactor is not alone in this race, but its progress has startled many. In experiments, plasma has been maintained for over 17 minutes at temperatures exceeding 70 million degrees. Other tests have achieved shorter bursts at over 100 million degrees. Each step brings us closer to continuous, stable, usable fusion power. And while these numbers might sound abstract, they are enormous leaps in physics and engineering. To achieve them, scientists must use superconducting magnets cooled near absolute zero to control plasma hotter than the sun itself. Think about that. Within a few meters, you have materials colder than space and matter hotter than a star. A balance so extreme, it defies intuition, and yet through careful engineering, it works. But fusion is not just science, it's politics. The ITER project in France involves 35 countries, including the US, China, Russia, and the European Union. It's a symbol of cooperation, but also of rivalry. While ITER struggles with delays and budget overruns, China is moving fast, investing heavily, and testing new designs. If they crack the code first, they won't just have bragging rights, they will control the future of energy. And that's why this story matters to you, because what happens inside that reactor in China could change your life. Even if you never think about fusion, the price of electricity, the stability of the internet, the security of your country, the health of the planet, all of it ties back to energy. And fusion is the ultimate energy. But here's the twist. We are still not there. Sustaining plasma is not the same as producing electricity. We still need to solve engineering challenges, how to handle the extreme heat inside reactors, how to design materials that don't degrade under constant bombardment, how to make the system efficient and affordable. Experts say commercial fusion power may still be decades away, yet optimism is stronger than ever. Private companies are entering the race, from startups in the US and UK to billion-dollar ventures backed by tech giants. Governments are pouring money into research, and every record set by machines like East makes the dream feel more real. So where does that leave us? Somewhere between awe and caution. We stand at the edge of a new era, a future where our children may grow up in a world powered not by coal or oil, but by miniature stars built on Earth.